Can we light the blunt? You can light the blunt.
And go live at the same time. Can you multitask?
Can we multitask? We're just going to give it a few minutes for our guests in the green room. You guys can talk in the private chat if you would like to discuss amongst yourselves anything. Before you come on screen, you can hear us. We can't hear you right now. So if you do want to talk to us, you can hit that private chat as well. We are going to do a little banter as we do, everybody, and let a few more people get in, or get a few people into the room. You guys know our number counter never works, so you got to tell us when you get in here.
I know sometimes I have to remember that saying that the numbers don't matter, because that sometimes that number is super high and sometimes it's super low and sometimes it's not existent.
And then it'll say we have 0 people in here, and then there'll be like 3 people talking to us in the comments. So it's like right now.
So I'm going to do a quick post on the Facebook.
Yeah, do that while I introduce us. This is the Cannabis Closet Podcast with Canna, Queen, and MJ. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and do our disclaimer for those of you listening after the show on Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You will hear this immediately. For everybody that's listening live, they already just know. They just already know. And you do too, if you're listening on the recorded message. But anyways, here we go. Just in case you're new here, it is about that time. You are about to get highly educated with the Cannabis Closet Podcast with Canna, Queen, and MJ. This is an adult content show with no limitations on subject, language, or actions. Opinions, views, and expressions may or may not be that of the hosts, guests, and their subsidiaries. If you aren't sure, don't worry. We'll tell you, or you can just take a good look at our faces. They'll probably tell you before the words come out of our mouths. It's about that time to get this session started. So thanks for rolling up and showing up. And we hope you enjoy the show, which is an impromptu again. Sort of. It's a weird thing. Okay, so here's what had happened is that I was actually talking to one of our guests that's on today, and he remembered that we were having that conversation. Thank you. I remember having a conversation with him, but I don't remember saying this day is the day that we'll have you on. So I don't remember that because we have been traveling straight for 3 weeks. And so everything's kind of been all over the place. So we also had slated a guest on Monday who had a scheduling conflict. And then today there was also a conflict. So we're going to reschedule her at a later show. But she couldn't make it today. And then we got an email from the guest that I had actually originally scheduled for today. So
and she put in
and then she also gave us the name of a potential guest. So we got in touch with him as well. And now we have 2 guests for the show. It is a work Wednesday. It's a banter show. So we're going to be doing that. We have a couple of headlines that we'd like to talk about. And then we are going to bring both of these guests back at a later date to talk about themselves a little bit more. I mean, of course, we're going to introduce them when they come on, but like we want to show that where we highlight them. So.
Yeah, well, where we have actual topics of discussion or specifics, today, as work Wednesdays go, we tend to run off the cuff or do headlines or, just have whomever on with us that's willing and wonderful. So
I want to do more. Actually, I want to do more. This wasn't meant to be an impromptu day, but I want to do more impromptu shows on Wednesdays. I think it would be fun.
Yeah,
I think it's fun to get to know people.
Yeah, it's all about building our community, right?
Absolutely. So to start, I know it's not obvious, or I don't think it is, but I did have surgery to correct my cracked tooth yesterday. It hurts. It's like having like a rug burn in your mouth. And also it's like everything, like when I talk on the inside, it rubs against so it hurts.
I know. Yes, I know. I was here last year actually.
Am I smoking a blunt right now too? Yes, I am. I don't.
It's because you're still hydrated and keeping
I am
yourself,
hydrated.
um, uh, medicated in other ways. So
I am. I hate the I like, okay, because I have, well, I have general anxiety. I know I hide it well, but like sometimes in my brain, it's just like a little scared chihuahua in the corner. And if you ever try to refer to me like that to my face, I will prove you wrong. But the point is, in my brain, sometimes that happens. For the dentist, like a lot of people do, I have major, major anxiety for that. And this man told me when I went in to get it checked, so I was very responsible about it. I went in right away. I was like, that feels not right. So I went in right away. And he was like, yep, you're right. You cracked a tooth. And I was like, that's crazy. It's the very, very last one. Do I need it? And he said, well, like, losing your teeth causes other health problems. Even if you like intentionally pull that tooth, it could lead to other health problems, which include things that I'm like scared shitless of, and dementia and
yes, isn't it
Alzheimer's.
crazy that they don't talk about this?
They don't talk about this, but losing your
educate
teeth
about
can really it's connected by a nerve, and it's, there's some science to it that I don't understand, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, pulling the tooth is not an option, because I was like, just fuck it, get it out. I don't need it. Well, I need that way back. I got another one like right in front of it. It does the job. It's fine.
Yeah, that's
So he said, no, not an option. We're going to put a crown on it, but your gum, it's a small tooth, right? So your gum is kind of covering. So we need to like laser that. And I was like, okay, we're going to stop you right there. What kind of drugs do I need to not know that that's happening? And he was like, okay. So, but having said that, like, I need that. I have no idea what happened at that. I mean, I know I have some idea what happened to the dentist. Don't get crazy, y'all. But I have like literally no laser. What laser? I don't fucking know. But I'm always so tired. I was just, before the show, I'm like yawning like crazy. I'm so tired from those meds, and I took them yesterday morning at 7 a.m. It's crazy.
right.
If
You
you
think
are
it's just
here,
that? Yeah, it's
say
just like
hi in the chat,
lingering.
by the way.
It's just
we
lingering.
Can't see your numbers. Yeah. It's just like hanging out. So yeah, it's just like, it's kind of frustrating that I wish I didn't need that, because he was like, oh, it's no big deal. And I was like, yeah, it is. Then he told
it's your
me,
mouth. It's a big deal. Like,
right?
yeah, I don't know.
It's a big deal. Look, you're talking to me about lasering some of my skin off. I'm not, trigger warning, everybody, I'm not okay with that. So then he told me that he would prefer to put a gold crown on my tooth because of the weight of that crown and where it's going to be placed. It's just like better, and it'll attach better and all this stuff. But I was like, you don't even have to explain any of that to me. Am I going to have a gold tooth in my mouth? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, bougie. Yes, I'll take it.
You're a mess.
I am a mess. You know what's crazy? You keep saying no to me, but I want one. I mean, not a whole gold tooth. Okay, I won't go so far. But I want, one of our friends has the gems, has the dental gems. And I'm like, she's got a gold cannabis leaf. Bitch, put that shit right in my mouth. I'll be bougie as fuck with that. I don't even care. I don't care what
you don't need my permission. Like,
I'm not asking y'all. I definitely would never ask for permission. But honestly, I'm like, I kind of want to do that. I need to save my money right now, because all my money's, all my money goes right into the Queen Kitty. So like, it's all there. So, but yeah, I want to do that. And I don't give a fuck what nobody thinks about it. I don't give a fuck when nobody thinks about it. people had something to say when I got this tattoo on my face, and has it hindered me one little tiny bit? No, it has not.
I don't think so. No, I
No, it has
don't.
not.
No. And
It
if
has
anything, I feel
not.
like you're empowered by it,
Exactly.
to,
Exactly.
do what you're doing.
I had a plan when I got my face tattoo that I knew I wanted it because I was stamping that shit all over my face anyway. So who cares? So I knew I had wanted to get that. And then I had a webinar that I had already planned. So, I was engaged in contract with like a pretty big company, an education company. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm not just going to show up with a tattoo on my face all of a sudden, that's unprofessional. I feel like a little bit, they didn't meet me that way. And so anyways, but I had such a good relationship with the person that coordinates everything that I told him about it. So I was like, yeah, he was like, what'd you do for your birthday? And I was like, I turned 44 and I got 2 tattoos. And I showed him the one. There's one on the back of my neck, and it says, it's the THC diamond with the exclamation point, and it says contains cannabis underneath it. And then I also got one on my face, and he goes, where? But I had covered it. And I told him that, and he goes, why? And that was all I needed. That was like, I'm all, because, corporate.
Well, again, yeah, we were raised in that corporate, military, and and we were, I was very much raised in the corporate.
It was
America,
very like that.
Like
the
you
face
don't
tattoos
get
are no-go,
or if you have tattoos, you should not
They're hidden.
See them in order to get a job.
Yes,
you shouldn't do like all those parameters. And now, thankfully, I feel like there is
but
some
now we run shit. Like I never even thought of it.
Like.
But I never thought of it this way. But like now we run shit in like corporate America. Like Gen X and millennials are running shit, and now Gen Z are coming into the fold too. But like we don't give a fuck about shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's just been empowering. But that was all. I was like, that was my one obligation that I was like, I'll cover it up, no big deal, whatever.
Right.
And he was like, you don't need to, because we're a corporate professional company, whatever, but also you have I have already walked in the room and this, I'm educated about this thing. So
I feel like there are still some, that's still like it's still a thing, there are still
there's
companies and there's still, where, you're required to cover that up. You can have it, but they want you to cover it up when you're on the clock or whatever. And, and so like I have friends that, they are fully, covered in tattoos just where your business stuff can be seen, like where they can put on their business attire and be like, whoop, whoop.
It's crazy. You say you're right about that. In a lot of still industries, it is not an acceptable thing. I think that we work in an industry that's a little bit more lenient about things like that, even in the corporate parts of it. Right. But also I remember going to a California pizza kitchen one time, and they made their employees take out the gauges in their ears. So if they had gauged ears, they couldn't wear the plug or the
It's so random, because then
and I was
it's like what it looks like without a plug is just not satisfying.
Can you just put that back? Can you just put that back, please? Like
especially just depending on the size of the gauge. But
right. Hey, no, our waiter had like huge, it was like double aught gauge, right? Which is it goes from the low numbers are smaller, or the high numbers are smaller, and the low numbers are bigger. So it was a double aught gauge. Oh my God. And it's just like his skin was just hanging. Then I was like, please put the wood piece back in, and
please, just please, anything. Well, since we're bantering, do we want to go ahead and bring our guests in?
We do.
And all right, so I'm gonna start with the first one that my button is on, and we've got I'll just bring them both in, and then we'll introduce them both. We've got Pancho Rucker and Stanford Fraser. And both of them have impressive resumes and reasons why they're here, and we can't wait to get into it. I have your bios in front of me, but I feel like y'all can do yourselves justice by telling us about yourselves.
I want to start by saying thank you to Stanford, because I am so sorry. I remember, like, we were having the conversation and you were on. I have like a list that I'm like, yes, I need to email this person, because I had you that I needed to email and schedule you. So I didn't even remember that I had already scheduled you for today. I appreciate you reaching out to us today, and I'm so glad that you were still available to come on. It actually worked out
we
fabulously.
even put it on the calendar, and then we just have not been looking at our administrative stuff, to even go back to say, oh my gosh, we did not follow up to our last email. So thank you for following up and being like, I'm still available. So
yes, absolutely.
Don't thank me. Thank the Apple Calendar app and the Reminder app.
Okay, see, and I have both of those, and still did not work for me. So.
And to Pancho for being last minute and available, to just and on it, and again, I'm excited to talk about what you do and your journey.
Oh, once again, same thing. Thank you for having me. I'm highly appreciative of the opportunity to be on here with you guys.
We love can we just do a quick shout out to the artist? We know we already asked you about it, but.
So the top 3 are from an artist from Virginia called Bugsy Art. And the bottom 2 are me. I did those. So.
Oh, well, shout out to you. Those are amazing.
Thank you.
They're amazing. I love every single piece of that. So we will start with Stanford. And I'm just going to let you introduce yourself and tell us what you're doing, because pretty damn important.
Oh man, so much pressure. So my name is Stanford Fraser, right? In my day job, I'm a public defender. So that means I went to college, went to law school, and I represent people that cannot afford a lawyer in court, right? You have the right to a lawyer. If you can't afford one will be appointed to you. Sometimes you get this handsome fella. And I mean, I guess the reason I'm here is, I do a lot of stuff in the decriminalization world, a lot of like cases. Actually, tomorrow I'm going to be in court. And in the morning, I think I have about 12, 13 clients, and basically they're all drug cases, right? A lot of misdemeanor drug possession.
What state are you in?
That's a great question. In Maryland.
You're in Maryland.
Yeah. In Prince George's County. So right outside of DC.
Yeah. And so thank you for what you do, because that is definitely a service, a public service. So we appreciate you doing that. Maryland has some, you guys have legal medicinal cannabis, but not legal yet. Is there anything, have you seen anything coming across that is indicating that you guys might be able to make a decision on that, or that legislation is maybe talking about that in Maryland?
No, it's a big move. So basically in November, right, the midterm elections, it's going to be a ballot question. So the voters of Maryland get to vote on it.
Awesome.
I think polling basically says it should pass, right? Knocking on wood, fingers crossed. Right. And I'm going to vote legalize.
Yes. and so what, I'm gonna pause because I'm gonna ask you another question about that, but I want to introduce Pancho too. So Pancho, go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience.
Well, hello audience. I am Pancho Rucker. I am a 2-time best-selling author. I am the owner of and founder of the Delta 8 500 milligram non-dairy vegan chocolate called Bumble Bars. And it actually has the potency of 3.5 bags of gummies in one piece. So yeah, you try that. I am the founder of a nonprofit organization called Team Rehab, where we focus on efforts in helping the underprivileged, including those that are unhoused, those that are looking for places to stay, those that are looking for assistance in any way, shape, form, or fashion. We try to help out our community in that manner. And I'm a published photographer. It's a lot of different things. So I'll just say what people call me, a serial entrepreneur.
I love it.
Yeah, we
are too. So what state are you in?
I am in the state of Missouri.
Missouri. It's one of our favorite states.
Love
We have
Missouri.
lots of guests that come on from Missouri and lots of listeners from Missouri as well.
Awesome. I want to give a special shout out for Melanie Marie for introducing me to you guys. And check out her as far as the Canna Education Center. She does a lot of great work within the community in the state of Missouri, actually. It's St. Louis, but all over dealing with Missouri.
We look forward to having her on as a guest. We just had some conflicts. And so we really appreciate you coming on in place of her, in lieu of her. But we're going to reschedule her for sure. So wait, hold on. What are the names of your books?
Okay. Clean Up BB is my first book that made a bestseller. That was actually it's a kid's book for my daughter. I had shortly before then I actually had a stroke, and when I was sitting there in the hospital, and I was like, you know what? If I can get everything at least back to 80%, I'm going to finish this book. I'm going to do this book for her. At the time, she was 2. So I decided to do that, and then it just spread it like wildfire. Another book that was featured on PBS was called Chin Up, Chest Out, and it focuses on, it was for my son and dealing with self-confidence and building that up for him and so on and so forth. But I have like 8 books that's out here that people can actually go to bbooks.com. That's BEEBEEBOOKS.com, or on Amazon. But, I'd rather you go to my website.
Yes, of course. Buy from the business owner. Buy from small business. Don't buy from Amazon if you can buy it directly from the small business.
And that's awesome. I'm interested. I'm looking at your Amazon page, and I am interested in your Note to Self books, and I'm going to and try and pick those up here shortly.
The funny thing about Note to Self, the illustrator was my best friend, one of my best friends who passed from overdose of opioid, and so with that. Part of the proceeds are going to a rehab and dealing with Huron side and so on. So we try to push away from dealing with opioids, and that's another reason outside of the recreational use of marijuana is the reason why I personally try to advocate more for cannabis use than anything else in the world, just because it hits so close to home for me.
Right. Yeah. So sorry for your loss. That's harsh.
Thank you.
So before we get into banter, I have questions for both of you that I cannot let pass. So let me come back to Stanford. What was my question that I wanted to ask you?
You want to ask if those books are from Amazon or not?
No, it wasn't that. Let's see. Public defender.
So are you talking about what he's running for?
The ballot, the ballot. Do you are you familiar with what that's going to look like if legalization were voted for in the state of Maryland? What does the ballot proposal look like? Because the reason I'm asking this is because in Missouri right now, there's this big divide, and it's between the people and the corporations. So the people are like, the people in the know are like, don't sign this petition for legal Missouri. Unfortunately, there was some deception from what I understand, getting these signatures. And so that might be the next big fight. But it is going to be on the ballot right now. As it is right now. And so that's why I'm asking this question. Is legalization in Maryland that's being placed on the ballot, is this going to be good for the people? Is this going to be good for small businesses? Or is this just going to benefit the corporations and the people who are getting paid by those corporations?
No, so that was a big battle, right? And I think depending who you talk to, right, you might get different answers. I think they came to maybe a compromise. So
Right.
I think part of the bill would establish something called, it was like not an equity fund, but like a business fund. Basically, part of the tax revenue, right, is going to be invested in certain places. And part of that revenue is to basically have grants to help minority and women-owned businesses, right?
Does it separate those two?
I think it's good. I think it's like one pot of money, grants that are going to both minority and women-owned businesses.
I'm gonna tell you why I think that's problematic in a minute, but anyway.
No. That's a really good. That's an important question. And then it has like the typical stuff for just if you're like an individual, you can grow up to 2 plants. I think up to 1.5 ounces you can like buy, and then possession up to 2.5 ounces is going to remove criminal penalties. And then one thing I don't think it went far enough, but one thing we fought for, if you're like serving a sentence for marijuana possession or marijuana selling, right? They call it marijuana distribution, right? Possession with intent to distribute. If you're serving a sentence, you can petition the court to be resentenced. And then if you're out of jail, you can then, if it's been 3 years, you can file to get that expunged from your record. And then if you have just the possession conviction, that's automatically expunged.
Are there fees that come along with this? Are there fees that come along with this stuff? Because I feel like it's just another way, instead of
you have to hire somebody to help you
do these things. Yeah.
I feel like it's another
not a consideration.
Anybody that's hearing my voice, if you are in charge of something like this, just expunge it. If you're going to legalize it, just expunge those offenses. Low-level
drugs. Make it an easy, like a non-barrier to do so. Like why we put these barriers up to do it is again just.
I have a very progressive view on this too. I also believe that if you are in jail for hear me out. If you are in jail for a low-level drug offense, a low-level non-violent drug offense, you did not commit violence to end up in jail. You showed up in jail because of some drugs, right? And while you were in jail, there was an offense committed in jail. I also think that should be expunged off of your record. Listen to me, why? Because you shouldn't have been there in the first fucking place.
Yep, I agree.
Shouldn't have been there in the first fucking place, right? So I have very strong views on that, and I'm just like, guys, just why are you making it hard for the people? Like just make it easy. If you're gonna legalize it, then that's not your decision. You guys, it's not Stanford's decision. He's just a messenger on what the rules are saying. The reason I asked you if women and if women were separate in a separate situation is because I will die on this hill. White women apply for social equity licenses and their husbands run the business. Their white husbands run the business. So this is still a white male run industry.
Yep.
Even if there's I'm not saying all women do it, but it is happening. It does happen to get around these social equity clauses and stuff as such, and to get into the lottery for social equity. This is happening. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, not that you're making the rules. I'm just curious.
I don't make the rules. I think it's like really tough because I'm like a public defender. I get paid by the state, right? But I know people who are like lawyers that run their own law office. And like, man, I know I was like, I never want to run a small business. So, Pancho, being a serial entrepreneur, you got to do taxes and like contributors and publishing. That stuff is just so hard, right? So I know some places, I can't even think of it. Instead of like doing the social equity licenses, they just do, all right, kind of like, in Alaska, you get like a refund from like the oil,
right,
like every year. So some people say, you know what, instead of just doing the social equity grants, it's just like give people money from like the marijuana.
Give it back,
taxes, right? Because at least then, because some people, you can have the best wishes, right? And you can have like the great rules, but sometimes a small business isn't going to be successful. Right. So I think for me, one of the things was I want to see, and we can still fight for it in the future. I want to see like other, equality, reparations, equity grants, whatever you want to call it, targeted. That's more than just like grants for businesses. Because like not everyone, I'm a lawyer, right? So I can read and I can write, but don't ask me to do algebra. I can't.
Right, and not everybody, like you're not required to fill out all of these like different licensing and different things for, you know, your average everyday business, right? This is cannabis, and there's like a lot of regulation that you got to follow. You got to be in a certain location. You got to have certain security. You have to have all of this stuff. It's hard enough to run that business, but now you're telling me I got to write a grant to get money back for it. For me personally, I can do all of those things, right? It's part of a service that I offer as a consultant, but also for me as a business owner, I'm a creative. So I come up with ideas all day long. I'll be like ideas. Oh, I know how to do this. I know what this should look like. I know, you know, whatever. And then the admin stuff is like, I got to like bring it in. Right. And it's very hard for me to do for myself. I could do it for somebody else. It's just hard for me to do for myself. And now they're asking business owners to do this, like to get what they should. It should already just be built in, right? It should be built in that this percentage goes back to these businesses that were that are in communities that were most affected by the war on drugs, specifically and especially. But like, you know, the people who were awarded social equity licenses basically shouldn't even have to really pay for their license. Like it should be like a refund of their license every year, you know, like they pay into the fund. Yeah. But then they get that refunded back and are able to use it in their business.
I don't think government thinks that far into it to in terms of like helping out the actual communities, you know, when they structure those, you know, those line items, you know, it's just like, okay, we're going to lump it here and we're going to say it's, you know, distributed like broadly. And then what happens though, also when we are talking about those communities that have been affected, and what if you're not getting into the cannabis industry, and how can it be, you know, put back into the community, even if it is associated with the cannabis industry? Like here in Colorado, you know, they say, you know, goes back to the schools and the roads. But again, you have to apply, you have to go through all these hoops, jump through all these hoops to get the money, and if you don't get it, then you don't get it. If you don't do it, then you don't get it.
Not to mention in Colorado,
just being a school or just being a program, you get this fund. You know?
And not to mention that in Colorado, and most states do this too. I think, you know, your county, your city, your community can decide on whether or not cannabis businesses can exist in that area. And then on top of that, like what my town does is every time, and we're a tourist town, right? So every time that we're low on money, COVID, by the way, just happened, we need to raise taxes. Who are we going to raise taxes on? The cannabis industry. They got us. They make millions of dollars. So then the business owner loses on that, right? Because that's more money that we don't get to put in our pockets if we have cannabis, regulated cannabis businesses.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, it's very problematic. I think, yeah, there should be, but of course they don't think that far because they're not thinking. A lot of people making these rules aren't thinking for the people. They're thinking for the money that's coming from it, right? This is a cash cow. Cannabis is a cash cow. So
absolutely.
Do you know if they built in, what was I going to ask you? I want to know if they, and you may not know the answer to this, and this is absolutely fine because it's totally off the cuff. Shoot, I lost my question. It was definitely a social equity question. Oh, I want to know if they built in regulation about location. If you this is off cannabis topic, but Atlanta just passed a law in Atlanta specifically that homeowners cannot use more than 2 of their properties for Airbnb. And one of those properties they have to live in. And so the other properties have to be used as a residential property for the community, for the people who live in Atlanta. They can't just buy a bunch of property and Airbnb them out, right? Wow. That's separate. That's a separate, obviously, from cannabis. But my question kind of relates to that. In a lot of states, this one included, you can pick a location for your dispensary, right? But you don't have to live there. You don't have to be a part of that community. You don't have to purchase things in that community. You don't have to spend money in that community. You can just have your business in that community where people from that community are spending money in your business, and you're taking that money out of that community and taking it into your community, right? And so I'm wondering that it was Maryland progressive enough to think, hey, maybe we should not allow for that to happen. If you don't live here, you can't own here.
Yeah, I gotta say that's a big I don't know, but I don't think so.
Yeah. I think that's something that we should, as activists, consider fighting for and lobbying for in a lot of these states, because what's happening is, cannabis is making a lot of money. It goes back to that that conversation about reparations, about giving back to the communities who were most affected by this detrimental war on drugs, right? But then you have this is a predominantly white-owned industry, white male-owned industry. As far as the regulated industry is concerned, we can talk about ancillaries, but I have opinions, anyways, as you can tell. But I think that we should start fighting for that, because what's happening is these white-owned businesses are building their franchises in these communities. People who live there and work there and try to thrive there are spending their money in these places because that may be one of the few places that they have to shop. They don't have access to purchasing a business because the regulations and the cost of doing business in this industry pushes them out. And so then the white man is in their community making money off of a product that they either want or need. I would argue need. Everybody uses it as medicine. I can explain that. But
only difference is taxes.
Exactly.
And
But then they take that money out of that community. It doesn't help build the community. It doesn't assist the members of that community. And it's a fucking atrocity. Like, you can't say in one argument that we want to benefit communities who were most affected by this bullshit, and then at the same time let white men come in, build the business there, and take the money out. Like, it's crazy.
All good points. I will say, while you were speaking, I tried to Google it real quick.
Yeah.
I don't have the exact details, but I do think a small part of the equity fund is going to go towards people that maybe have been previously incarcerated.
Okay. Well, that's something.
Yeah.
Listen, I would love to get our governor on the show to explain what he's doing to our medical program. So, like, we don't, we're in Colorado. I don't think anybody's doing it perfectly right now. There's definitely things we can learn from each state and the way that they're conducting business. But if they would just listen to those of us who actually work and live and breathe cannabis.
And they cherry pick, they cherry pick regulations from other states, it's just, and what sounds good or looks good. But then again, we've talked about it before, not executed properly. And so I don't know, again, creating problems and issues for us.
I feel like the United States, I feel like that, I said it the other day on the show, I'm not gonna back down off of that, but I feel like that's the feature, not the flaw, right? We're gonna try this thing that absolutely we know works. We've seen it work. We've seen, like, legalizing all drugs, right? We've seen models where that works, and it absolutely works. But in those models, they built the infrastructure to support what they were doing. So they had support systems for people who wanted to get off of those drugs. They had counselors available, and it wasn't something that costed anything. They had safe havens where you could use safe materials, right? And it worked in other countries. It worked because they built that infrastructure. But then in the United States, we can take Oregon as an example. We recently talked to somebody from Oregon about this, and on the show, and it's kind of a shit show because they haven't built the infrastructure to support what they're trying to do. And I feel like a lot of our legislation comes from like half-assing it in America, you know, like we want it to fail. We want to say, oh, well, it might have worked over there, but it overall, it won't work. Right.
Well,
Or we just want the money from it, but we don't want to really make it work.
And when it fails, we can say we told you so.
Well, I think that really more than anything, the cash cow is in the treatment and not the cure when it comes to that. So if we can make a residual income that continuously happens, then we're going to be justified in the means. Like, so it'll be a thing of, look, we're helping you guys, but you know, this is just a war on drugs or a war on this or a war on that. So we're going to slowly treat this thing, but we're never going to cure it, even though we have the things to cure it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. There's more money in keeping people sick. And
exactly.
Keeping people
addicted. Just the verbiage of saying that cannabis is for medicine, but marijuana is bad.
Exactly.
And actually making regulations and rules accordingly to those words and separating what shouldn't be separated. Exactly. And again, once it's into a regulation, it's harder to change.
Exactly.
So I think straight up Connecticut is the one that straight says cannabis is medicine, marijuana is criminal.
It's crazy. And I want to just on that point, once it's regulation, it's harder to change. Missouri, listen up and listen good. Do not vote for that ballot initiative.
Absolutely.
That ballot initiative is not good for the people. It is not good for small businesses. And anybody that is in this game and advocating for cannabis, generally speaking, a majority of the people that I've spoken to are fully against, including a Republican representative in your state, fully against this ballot initiative.
Mm-hmm. And he let us know you can, if you signed that petition to get this ballot measure put forth, you can actually remove your signature, knowing that what was presented was not accurate. I think that there's documentation throughout Missouri, and you guys can you'll find that probably everywhere and anywhere.
Representative Ron Hicks will be a good place to start.
Yes. They're out there like wildfire pushing the narrative that, oh, well, do you want to legalize marijuana?
They're not being honest with what they're doing.
No. They're not at all being honest. As a matter of fact, some of the people gathering signatures did not even know anything about the ballot initiative. Some of the people gathering signatures falsely informed people signing that document that it was actually Ron Hicks legislation, which it's not at all.
It's not.
And so if you signed the petition to get that initiative on the ballot under false pretenses, you can have your signature removed. They are still working to get the whole thing overturned, honestly. And he does have a legislative plan that's much better, that would invest in the people and make small businesses and opportunities available in Missouri, which a lot of people in Missouri who do not have a ton of money in their pockets do turn to the ancillary world, which is great and fine, but it pushes people out of being able to be a part of this regulated market and this gold mine,
Yeah, they make it like here incredibly difficult to
your
get
medical program.
Yeah, like one of the things, like to even start a dispensary here, there's a $10,000 application fee that you cannot
get back. You cannot get it back.
Just the application. Yeah. It is not.
If they tell you no, they won't even give it back to you.
Yeah, it's non-refundable.
I cannot. Who has 10 grand?
What do you do? What do you do? What are they doing with that 10 grand fee? Like print your application. Nope.
It's definitely a money grab on both ends of everything. So like for me, and I got on the more of the cannabis side of things, on the hemp side of things,
right,
because of not wanting to deal with all of the red tape that came with trying to get into the marijuana industry, which it's been a blessing for me. But even on that, I've looked at this whole thing nationally. When cannabis and marijuana are typically the same thing, it's just from the stock and one from the buds. How is it that you can say, well, this is legal here with the marijuana side, but this is not legal here for the cannabis side? And it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's a lot. I've been seeing a lot of money grabs as far as some states will say, well, we'll let you pay the 40% tax on the dispensary marijuana versus the, say for instance in Missouri, it's 4.225% on hemp. So instead of us just saying, hey, let's just have this all around for this. No, we're going to make this illegal and we're going to jack up the prices like you spoke about with the marijuana in the state that you're in. And it'll be like, oh, well, we're going to raise this up because we can lean on this. This is fairly new. And people are just happy to get high. And that's
what
not
I
good.
tell you, I've sat in several of those city hall meetings. Like, why are we the only businesses getting taxed? You should tax. If you're going to tax us, tax everybody, and that way we can share the burden. We don't mind sharing the burden, of lifting our city up, but to put the whole burden on our backs is crazy. I have a question for you. So we do, I'm just full disclosure, we do have some opinions on Delta 8. It is my personal opinion that Delta 8 would not exist as an industry grab if not for illegality of cannabis. If you had an opportunity to work in the regulated industry, I feel like that would be a much bigger moneymaker for you as well. And also some states outlaw Delta 8 because of the processing that it requires to even create that. So my question to you is, I've been reading some reports that the federal government is going to start kind of cracking down on Delta 8 distributors. Do you have a plan for your business if that does happen, if they start coming through and just kind of putting the kibosh on those particular? Because here's the reason I ask, and here's the reason I think it could be a reality, is because there's a law that says that if a drug is illegal, and Stanford, you might be able to elaborate on exactly what this is called, but because I can't remember the exact phrase for it, but basically, if a drug is illegal, as cannabis is federally illegal right now, anything that kind of mimics that drug would also be considered an illegal substance. And I think that is where the federal government is kind of like trying to decide, is Delta 8 coming from hemp okay? Or is it not okay because it kind of mimics the effects of Delta 9, which is just the main and most natural.
What do they call it? The precursors, or it's a
it starts
there's a specific term for,
there's a specific term. It starts with an F. I've used it before. I think it starts with it. I could be completely wrong about that. But basically it's like, hey, if this thing that you are selling looks like or acts like
is it like facsimiles, like controlled dangerous substance and their facsimile? No.
It's like it's essentially
you're in the right place.
It's a science term, like
and so basically, because the difference between Delta 8 and Delta 9 as a compound is just it's a double carbon, and the placement of that double carbon. Am I right about that? Yes, I think so. So they act similarly. There's some evidence that the mild the mild intoxication that comes from Delta 8 versus Delta 9 could be because Delta 9 releases all of its olivitol, which is a compound that usually doesn't stay with the plant. Anyways, and it could stay with Delta 8. Anyways, my point of asking the question though is, do you have a plan if this does happen? Have you been watching the?
I've definitely been watching everything.
I assumed that you had.
Yeah, I've been watching everything right now with where it is standing in a lot of states that I've talked to, state representatives that I've talked to throughout the country are mainly stating that as long as it stays under the percent of 0.3% of THC, then we should be fine. So for me, I go through extensive research
of the Delta 9 THC. So as long as
no, I'm saying it's 0.3% of THC.
Any of
period.
it. Okay, so
all
even
across
the Delta
the
8.
board.
Okay,
it has to be that. And for me, as far as the Bumble Bars company, we go through extensive lab research when it comes to that, because of that simple fact of we want to make sure that it's as clean as possible, as healthy as possible, and we want to make sure that it is not because there is some skeevy places around.
Yes, there are.
It's really, really, really ugly when it comes to some people that just want money grabs versus quality product. Correct. And so with that, I say, for us, I am pretty sure that we're going to be just fine because of the research and the things that we go through to make sure that everything is clean, because we don't want that at all. Like some people, what I've heard in the industry, people have used bleaching agents and all types of things to extract the particular color or a certain look or a certain this. No, we want better quality. It's just the same thing as someone using a lower grade of marijuana. You get what I'm saying? And just to get it off, to say it looks good because they put it in a pretty bag.
Right.
And I definitely don't want that. But anybody that's taking advantage of this without, being in it to help and do the right thing, shut all of that down. Yeah, and that's how I definitely feel with that. But having a exit strategy, the goal is to go on both sides of the spectrum, as far as marijuana as well as the hemp side, because they both, it's essentially, it's the same thing.
It's the same thing. So cannabis is cannabis, you guys. It all falls under the same umbrella. This is for our audience, but it all falls under the same umbrella. Hemp falls under the same umbrella as the stuff that is making you feel all nice.
It's literally inside. One molecule off.
There's very few differences. It's like, okay, let's take for example roses, right? They don't all smell the same. They don't all look the same, but they're all roses. Same kind
of have thorns.
I agree.
So let's see. We have talked about legalization in both states. I kind of want I think we could probably go for a little bit longer. I would like to talk about one of the headlines that I saw today. This also concerns cannabis. In the reason, the fact that we don't have legalized cannabis across the United States is going to destroy people. In Oklahoma yesterday or the day before, a tornado came through and ripped apart cultivation in Oklahoma. Ripped it apart. Over $90,000 in losses, and the damages keep rising. They lost over 50 greenhouses. They were all living in RVs. Those RVs got tumbled. Nobody was severely injured or unalived or anything. Everybody lived. I mean, they're going to have to go through therapy. I hope that they get it, but that's crazy. But here's the thing, you guys. They lost over this is a operation's been in operation for 2 years. So it's a small business and it's a brand new business. They just started. They just lost pretty much everything. You cannot write off any of that stuff in cannabis. So they literally,
and insurance does not cover it.
Their insurance is not likely going to cover a majority of that stuff. It probably might cover the living arrangements, etc., but not the greenhouse equipment, not the cannabis stuff, because it's federally illegal. It's still Schedule 1 drug. This is what is this is a natural disaster. Any other business could have written this off.
Wow.
Any other business.
So it's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't type of thing with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. That
yeah.
sucks.
And so it does.
Like
and
we follow all the rules, and then this happens, and what do you do? So the community came together to help them, generally speaking, get their stuff together. But the plants are gone. Okay, here's the kicker. Here you go. Here you go for some state work. The state showed up. They were before the 10 o'clock news even aired this. So the state showed up immediately after it happened to secure any product that wasn't destroyed. And that's the spin they put on it. Because for me, I'm like, who's your PR person?
Yeah.
They should have been like, we're here to help this business. They've already lost a lot. We don't want them to lose any more. So we're going to help them properly secure what's left of their inventory and help them with their cleanup or something. Nothing. They just came in, they got that shit and they bounced. They were like, we got to secure this. It's a bad look, Oklahoma.
Shame, shame, shame.
Yeah.
Shame.
Wow. So not only are we going to not allow you to bounce back from anything, we're going to put you more in debt and take everything from you almost.
Yeah. I don't know if them securing it is just maintaining it until the business can, but I don't feel like it. I feel like they just got they just suffered a natural disaster and then got ripped off.
Oh, it's perfect that you say you secured, because that's exactly what happened,
Yeah.
That's awful.
It's, I don't know. I don't know how.
That reminds me of like campus police at college when they would take it from people's
Absolutely.
rooms. Where did that go?
Yes, exactly. You know where the hell it went. In their lungs.
Or resold or
in this case, in their pockets.
When I was in India, they told, I'm not the one that goes to a foreign country and buys weed off of strangers. Mm-hmm. If I know somebody, we can get down. But like, if this is my first time here and I don't know nobody that's connecting me. I've seen like lots of documentaries about the prisons in some of these places, so I'm not about it. So we were in India and they got a ton of like different pipes and stuff. And so we were shopping. It was me and a friend of mine. We were shopping in pairs because I was on a trip with a bunch of classmates basically. And there were 9 of us and one was a dude. And then our professors were dudes and they were like, listen, buddy system, India is not safe for you to go by yourself at all. Ladies, listen up. So we used the buddy system at all times. And we were shopping and I was like, of course, I was buying up pipes for people back home and stuff. They were cheap. I was like, yes. And they were like, some of them were like handmade and stuff. They were really cool.
Weren't you scared that the international laws wouldn't allow you to bring them over? Not
the pipes.
Okay.
I wasn't worried about the pipes themselves. I was, because they were just artwork basically.
Right.
But of course, anything else, no go. I was going absolutely insane. I use cannabis because I have panic attacks. And I'm a military brat, but I've been in the Navy. So
me too. Good
we
job.
we were on what was your rate?
I got out at an E5.
Well, what was your job?
OS.
Oh, nice. I was a cop. So, okay. And I was also an E5 when I got out. Listen, don't judge me. But but I'm always on high alert, because I like my whole life I've been on high alert like that.
Absolutely.
So we're on a plane to India and all of my classmates are telling strangers of our itinerary. I'm in full panic. Oh, it's 4:20 on the West Coast, y'all. Light them up if you got them. I do. I got them. So we're in India. We were told in advance, do not even think about trying to buy any weed here. Do not even think about it. And I was like, they were talking to me. I knew who they were talking to. Listen, yes, sir. I got it. Bitch, right. I'm 30 something years old in college right now. I got it. I can do it. It's fine. We're buying all these pipes. This guy says, do you want some marijuana? Boy,
wow. Is he a cop?
Boy, yes, I want some marijuana. Of course I do. Am I going to say yes to you? I looked at my classmate and I was like, I do. And I look back at him and I go, no, I do not.
Right.
No, I do not. Because this is what they do. This is what they do to white people in India. They sell you the cannabis. They sell it to you. And then the cop grabs you, steals it from you, arrests you, puts you in an Indian prison, no thank you, and then gives it back to the drug dealer for profit.
And they do it all over again. Yep.
No thank you. Nah. If I don't know somebody knows you, nah, we good. I'm not going to
That
Indian
sounds like
prison.
Entrapment.
It is entrapment, but it's India, so who gives a shit?
Yeah, that
ain't nobody saving from that. But I did start smoking these things. You guys remember clove cigarette? How old are you guys?
Yeah. BDs. Yep.
I'm like, how old are you guys? I'm 45 years old. So when I was in the 90s, we used to smoke cloves all the live long day for those of us who were not actually smoking the marijuana. So we were like trying to be bad, but we weren't bad. So, but in India, they have those. So I saw this guy smoking this and I was like, is he smoking a pinner right now? But then I smelled it. It was tobacco. And I was like, but I started smoking them. It kind of helped me a little bit with my
kind of mellowed you out. No, those were awesome back then. So yeah.
So, what would you do if you like? Okay, so you're a public defender. Could we at all? Is there anything that you can think of that we could do to get around like complete destruction of our livelihood in the instance of something like what happened in Oklahoma? Like, as an attorney, are there any defenses that you think that they would have to be able to?
Honestly, that's above my pay grade. That's a different type of law, but I think no. I mean, I have like an associate who runs like a medical marijuana dispensary. They have to deal with those regulations. It's very cash intensive, pay their own security. So, I mean, I think that what they could do is maybe try to ask Oklahoma to pass certain laws to help them out. But
so that's what you got to do, Oklahoma. But see, Oklahoma's like a free for all. They were like, here's your laws, and then they're like, kind of like, do what you want. It's $2,500 to get a license in Oklahoma.
Oh, really? That's it?
That's it.
But I wonder if there's any, any bonus or not any benefit for the state of Oklahoma to come in and assist this facility. I mean, it's a huge, I don't know, or if
it's a successful facility, I would say there's a benefit to them because they're going to gain the taxes, right?
Right. And so I don't know, you the hope, right? That something will happen on the positive for these folks.
Our guest from Oregon, and I apologize for not knowing her name off the top of my head. But she had said that she sees Oklahoma going the way of Oregon, where they're just going to have this influx of product, but not enough people to purchase it, which is why
Oregon is so hard,
right? Because the system is so easy to get into.
Okay, But in terms from the people to access it,
I mean, it's so easy for people in Oklahoma to get a license. They don't even, I don't know that they actually have any social equity clauses because they don't really have that issue. It's not, there's no barrier for entry, honestly.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I think I need to take a visit to Oklahoma.
I mean, it's not a
but
bad
then for
idea.
the consumer,
But then you got to be good because you're going to have some major, I mean, there's competition out there for sure because everybody can get in.
Yeah.
The thing is it going to fizzle itself out?
That's a big question.
Is it a big bubble? Is it a
big? Which is why it would be so important, right, to pass federal laws, because then what Oregon has done is set in place in the regulations an export law, so they can export product as soon as it's federally legal to do so.
They're ready, and that's the thing. It's like they're thinking about the
They thought about that infrastructure. They didn't think about the other one.
I mean, and honestly, like, if the international discussion isn't being made by the government, then they're a little behind in the way of thinking then. Because
overseas, they are having that discussion.
They are having those discussions. They are already moving forward with it and looking at it as not in a criminal way and really purely using it for, science and retail and, medical and, understanding that the industrial use is just as separate,
Nice. Well, I gotta let you guys know. I think I gotta head out.
Oh, I wanted to ask you one question before you head out.
Okay, I'll take last question.
And then I definitely want to reschedule you because I feel like I want to talk about, because you're campaigning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right now. Okay. So my one question is how harsh is Maryland on nonviolent drug offenders? Are they as harsh as they are, or does it depend? Is it still racially motivated and divided?
I mean, it depends, and it depends like what part of Maryland you're in. So I can like break it down. For misdemeanor marijuana possession more than 10 grams, the maximum penalty is 6 months. For every other drug, misdemeanor possession, the maximum penalty is a year, but they can file like repeat offender notice. So if you have one prior conviction, then the maximum penalty becomes like 2 years.
And that's for possession?
Yeah, for possession. It can become like 4 years. It depends. Like some places don't bother filing the subsequent offender, right? Some places do. And then for drug distribution, the maximum penalty can be anywhere from like 5 or even 20 years.
Oh, wow.
So like that.
And distribution could be like handing your friend a joint.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, not for the 20-year offense, but yeah.
Yeah. But still, you could spend 5 years in jail for handing your friend a joint. That's kind of crazy.
And what county are you in again?
I'm in Prince George's County.
You're in PG County. Yep.
Yeah, PG.
It's rough. Yeah.
So what's interesting for me is because it's not legal yet. In DC, it has like a very murky law where you can buy lemonade for $50 and get free marijuana, right?
Yep.
That's how they do it. And then you drive home in the PG and you get stopped by the officers. And it's like, you have weed? Yeah, I just bought it at this legal shop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually not legal. So because, you're next to like different jurisdictions with different laws.
Isn't it crazy you can do that in DC and then all the people sitting up in that stupid office in DC are like, no.
Yeah. Right?
It's legal where you work. What are you talking about?
Did you walk from the train to your office? Because you might have seen these shops.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
So tell us, you're running for office?
Yes.
Tell us about that, and then I will and where we can go to your website, and then I'll let you go, and we'll reschedule you for a whole show.
Yeah, so my website is just my name, StanfordFrazier.com, as spelled in the logo, STANFORD, and then Frazier, FRASER. We'll put it in the show notes. I don't know if they will, but I can say that.
We will. We will.
And I'm running for county council here in Prince George's County, right? So I'm running, help decide some of the laws in the council. And, when, I'm knocking on wood, but when we legalize marijuana, it's going to be county council members, like your local offices, trying to write the rules of where they can be and those regulations and helping those small businesses or not helping those small businesses. So I hope to be an ally for when that passes.
That's awesome. And you know what? You can call us in to help you create those laws because we know exactly what the people want.
Yeah, I learned a lot about Delta 8. I'm going to have to do some Googles after this podcast.
Yeah. We also, we've done a couple shows on Delta 8 too. And, we just want to see where it goes. we have a couple friends that have businesses in Delta 8. We're just like, hey, look out because the feds are kind of looking at y'all. So that's
definitely.
yeah.
They definitely
You know.
are.
So anyways, but we'll let you go, Stanford, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you
we
so
really
much.
appreciate it, and we're going to have you back and talk just all about you.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
And your campaign.
Yes. Hope you have a good rest of the day.
All right. All right. And so what else do we have? Now that we've got Poncho. I mean, you're an extremely interesting human being as well. Did we have any other? I felt like did we have any other headlines that we wanted to discuss? I know I was really on that tornado one. I was like, I cannot believe that a natural disaster can take out your business and you can't even insure that shit.
And yeah, you just take advantage of that. But you know what? That's like here we're having a big thing over in the marijuana industry here, be it cannabis or it doesn't matter. You can't use a bank for the most part.
Nobody can.
And that's
it's hard for us to bank too.
Credit cards you can't use or try to get in the system.
Or if you do use them, listen, they make us launder our money, basically.
Basically, yeah.
You have to, like, if you're cannabis, if you're in and ancillary businesses too, you have to be careful what you name your business.
Absolutely.
If you are in the cannabis business, you have to DBA. You have to do business as whatever the fuck your dispensary is called. Yep. And you have to have a parent company that funds that. You guys, because they won't let us legitimately put our money into a bank, but
they'll tax you.
That.
So
every fucking time.
Here's another thing that happens. Say for instance, like with certain places that you can do commerce through, like say for instance, let me say a different company, but like Clover, so to speak, right? Where you have to pay using your card. So you get where I'm coming to the actual company, right? So if you mention, so like for on
as a civilian person, if you mention,
So if you mention anything that deals with, say for instance, this product is being sold here and it has any words such as water pipe or anything else, they will put a freeze on your account and you can't spend any money until they tell you they've investigated everything.
You guys, they don't do this to rich people. I'm gonna tell you right now, they don't fucking freeze your goddamn rent money because you bought a fucking pipe. Are you kidding me right now?
No, if you sell to anyone at a store that has these things, or
like just because you bought something, like you could have gone in there to buy fucking a lighter. You could have bought a lighter in there, and they'll still, because you went to a specific store to buy a lighter. They will still.
Oh, and one thing you can't
in a legal state, you guys, in a medically legal state, this is happening.
One thing you can't do on your websites is say, these things they have medicinal properties or they help.
Yeah.
We can't I had someone that was like, this helps me with my anxiety.
You can't put like a testimonial like that up.
They shut the whole page down until you take those things out.
Yeah.
Because
you can't claim any medicinal. Same for us too.
Mental health. It's all
shameless plug. And this show is sponsored by Queen Kitty Seltzers. Also, we can't put any medicinal properties because we wanted to, which we did and we have, and we will continue to do. But we wanted to have like a little bit of education on the can about cannabis, about the endocannabinoid system, right.
I wanted to do the same thing.
Right. But we had to be really careful about the facts and the knowledge that we used. Yeah. Because we couldn't say things like, CBD helps with, we couldn't make a claim like that. And so instead we just went with, because our drinks are CBD. And there's a future of potentially CBG for us as well.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
is what we're looking at, but we can't, like, we would love to put, CBG is great for, neural health and blah, 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 but we can't put that on the can. So instead we just opted for like the endocannabinoid system. That is not about cannabis itself. That's about an actual scientifically known, we know how it works. And we chose terpenes, so we talked about terpenes like generally, and then I think we chose cannabinoids, and we talked about cannabinoids generally, what they are, but not like what benefits terpenes have or what benefits cannabinoids have, because it's just you're not allowed to do that on your labeling.
Absolutely. And I don't get why we can't do that. Well, I know why. And that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, it is.
But,
Exactly
it's very much so to me tied into the same reason why some states ban certain things because of tax dollars. It's not because of anything else, but the tax dollars.
You guys know Tommy Chong went to jail for selling a bong to a guy in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
For selling an empty
year?
I don't know how many years he got.
Yeah.
But he went to jail for selling a piece of glass.
Yep.
With nothing in it.
Yep.
No residues in it, nothing like that, to a guy in Pennsylvania. Yep. And it was a sting operation because he told the guy no originally. He told the guy no like 5, 10, 15 times, and the guy kept badgering him. And then finally he was like, just to get this guy off my back, just this one time. Yeah. And they got him. They got him because it was a fucking whole sting operation. Yeah. He said no. He said no several times. And the guy was just badgered him to the point where he was just like, whatever, dude. If it'll get you to shut the fuck up, I'll do this.
Yeah, I'll do it. And worst decision. Yeah, that's awful.
Just trust. I've learned my lesson from Tommy Chong. We have certain states that we cannot deliver to, and we will not deliver to.
Yeah, on my website, that's why I have to keep up on the laws everywhere. Because
he stated it on his website that he did not ship there, but the guy.
But for me, as soon as it says they're illegal, it's illegal to be there, I automatically shut down that portion of like, you can't even order here. You can look maybe, but you can't order at all. So
no, we won't ship we won't ship to certain places because there are, while hemp is all legal across the nation, there are some states that do have restrictions on where the hemp comes from and whether or not like hemp from Missouri can be sold in Hawaii, for example. It cannot.
Absolutely.
And there are certain places like Maine, for example, I believe is one of the places that requires the hemp to come from within the state to be sold in the state. California has a similar law for dispensaries. They've just allowed dispensaries to carry hemp, but the hemp that the dispensaries carry, the regulated dispensaries carry, has to come from within the state of California and has to be regulated through California. It doesn't make any specifications for any hemp found outside of the dispensary, regulated dispensary setting. But so we have to pay attention to those laws too, but that's crazy, right? Because it was just like a piece of glass, and he was badgered into it. I just don't even understand how you can still imprison somebody after you basically like you
conned them into it. That's what it was.
You did this. I mean, go to one psychology class and you know that this is how the human brain, generally speaking, works.
Absolutely.
Is that if you poke at it enough, I mean, you can watch a million Dateline episodes where you get false confessions, right? Because the cop was like, you did it, you did it, you did it, you did it, you did it. I just watched the one about the little girl. What was her? I cannot remember names right now. I apologize, but I just watched this 2020 episode about a 12-year-old child that was falsely convicted of a young girl's murder.
Yeah.
Because the cop used actual techniques that he that he got from a class that a lot of interrogators take.
Wow.
and use these methods on a 12-year-old child. But he looked 16, you guys. So
yeah.
it was fine.
Yeah.
Listen,
it happens really.
His brain was still 12. His brain was still 12.
It happens often, especially, you know, where I'm from, and the reason why I got into the advocacy of a lot of like community activism as well as in the cannabis industry. We just call it here, he got railroaded. You know, and that's really what that happens. It's even to a point to where in our system, it like there's something called a free case. So it'll be a people where they'll lock a lot of people up and then take them to jail and say, admit to this, or we're going to put this on you.
So that's what they did to him. Yeah. They said to this child, 12-year-old. First of all, his mother was there, but she wasn't allowed in the room.
Yeah, which is illegal.
Which is illegal. Yeah. I don't care what decade it is. It's been illegal for a long time.
Yeah.
Let's see. His name, was his name his neighbor? His name was Anthony Harris. And it's been more than 20 years. He did get out. He did, as a young child, get out of jail, but he was put in prison for the murder of his neighbor, a little girl named Devin Dunvier. It's a 2020 episode. If you have Hulu, you can totally watch it.
I'm definitely watching that tonight.
But yeah, so she wasn't in the room with him, so she could see what was going on, but she couldn't hear what was going on. Basically, they told this he's 12. You guys, I just wanted to keep saying that.
Yeah,
he's 12. 12 years old. The mind of a 12-year-old. I cannot even. A cop using proven tactics against a 12-year-old is just insane to me. Yeah. So he said, you can go home if you just tell me what I want to hear. And then fed him the facts of
what he wanted to hear, right?
And then fed him the facts of the case, how many times that she was stabbed, blah 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 blah.
Yep.
And by the way, Devin's murder is still not solved. This young man was put in prison 20 years ago. And this little girl's murdered because they focused on this young black man or child. He wasn't even a man. He was a child.
Yeah.
He was a child.
Yeah.
He's a man now. And
what it sounds like it's the same thing of what happened to Corey Wise with the Exonerated Five, the Central Park Five.
Yes.
He was just taking his friend to the police station, and they made him confess to a crime that he wasn't even there with. And if it wasn't for the guy that actually did it to find a religious experience in his own life and confess to it, then he wouldn't have been locked up. And also that same person went and raped and hurt someone else that same night.
That's the part, you guys. Yeah. That's the part of these false confessions, is that the person who did it is still out there and potentially a repeat offender.
Exactly. Yeah. Potentially, more than likely. It's usually 80%.
Most likely. It's not their first time and it won't be their last.
Exactly. And I guess the system is still, it's all about numbers, and that's what it goes right back around to what we were saying about the taxes of this and the inclusion of that. And like I said, it's another story for another day.
Yeah, absolutely. And
we're going to have you back, Poncho.
Oh yeah, I definitely want to come back.
Yeah. We want to start doing some like banter Wednesdays where we do this more often. And so we would definitely love to have you back. And to talk more about what you're getting into, some more books you're writing, and and all of that stuff.
Awesome.
And we all, we love Missouri. I in particular, I don't know. I'm not going to speak for MJ, but I in particular love Missouri. I mean, I don't love what your cops are doing, and I don't love some of the shit that happens out there, but I do love, like, really just love Missouri.
We love the people. We have some really
well, the people that we know anyway are awesome.
we love the people we know there, and it's a good like we have a good community there, and so it just really
just love it. I just love going out there, and I love spending time with you guys out there. And mostly we spend time in St. Louis, but shout out to Kansas City. We love y'all too.
And
everybody in between.
Next time you guys come, like, you're definitely like, I'm gonna have to get at least like an ounce or something, and we're just gonna sit and talk and have a good time.
Let's get down. Let's get down. We'll do a whole show about it.
Definitely.
We'll go over to the Cola Lounge maybe and just like hang out.
Exactly.
And
yeah. Those are my guys.
Yeah. We love it over there. Shout out to the Cola Lounge.
Absolutely.
Real quick before we leave, we always like to leave the sponsorship for the end, but we know you guys hang on to the end, so thank you for that. This show is brought to you by CQ LLC, Cannabis Consulting and Education. www.cq-llc.com, cq-llc.com, or you can reach out, customer service, cqllc@gmail.com. 970-426-5985 is where you can reach me and us, basically me, but us. I have not changed code for King Palm. I'll do that very soon. This show is also brought to you by Queen Kitty Seltzer. Of course, we have 3 different wonderful flavors. We have lemon kiss, we have bubblegum, and we have the plain, which we are actually going to rename Nearly Naked in the next round. So just so you guys know, we're going to spice it up a little bit. Yay, Nearly Naked. That's what we're going to call it. These are 10 milligram CBD seltzers. They are water. No vegans were harmed in the creation of these seltzers. There is no sugar and no THC in these seltzers. It's just a nice, refreshing drink. There's no yak in the back. Make sure you get one today. We are working on distribution to get it to you who want to purchase through retail. And we will get it out to you guys as soon as possible. I'm working on that right now. And hashtag pop this kitty. Make sure if you got one, you post this on social media and let us know what you thought. It is our favorite thing that we're doing right now. Awesome. And if you guys want to get in touch with the Cannabis Closet, you absolutely can. solo.to/cannabiscloset420 is where you can reach us. That's where you can find our Discord link if you want to join us there. We've been a little bit absent lately, but trust us, because we've been on the road and we are exhausted, but we are coming back. We'll be back to hang out with you guys soon. And even if we're not there, it's a community. You guys can hang out without us. I promise. We won't mind at all. If you were unable to catch us today, or you have a friend who was unable to catch us today, definitely check us out later on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google Podcasts. I will be posting this show up very soon, so you'll be able to grab it there. CannabisCloset420@gmail.com. If you have any show ideas or have a guest you would like to see on the show, we would definitely do our best to get that guest on. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Where can we find you?
You can find me on all platforms at ponchorucker.com. That's Poncho Rucker. That's PANCHORUCKER. You can get my books, including my son's book that he's 13 now. He's working on his second book called proud. Jake Drew the Explorer. Jake Drew the Guardian. Sorry about that. And please buy his book so he can stop asking me for money.
Fund it yourself, son.
You can get that at BEEBOOKS.com. That's BBBooks.com. And you could also go to my bumblebars.com. That's we have our non-dairy vegan chocolate here, and we also have our non-dairy vegan chocolate with our granola snack, which is all natural products, because it's enough things
enough.
out there that's trying
Yeah.
to hurt you. So
That's absolutely
yeah,
true.
and thank you guys so much for having me on. Like, I can't wait to come back.
Oh, I can't wait to have you back, and thank you for coming on and joining us today. We'll reschedule you, and we will also send you the link to this when it's up and going. You guys, as always, be nice to yourself. Put your mask on before assisting others.
Yes. Cultivate love. Bring it to you. You deserve it.
The question on the table before we tell you the last thing is, hey, Pancho, does that come in dark chocolate?
Right now, it is let's see, almond milk, so like a milk chocolate type of.
But it's not a dairy. It's not a dairy product.
Not at all. Not at
that
all.
was the question on the table. I think you answered it.
Yep.
You guys, as always, stay lifted.
Stay lifted.
If you want to hang out for a second, we're just gonna
light it up.
Light it up.